Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. I thought we would do another video in the series that I'm trying to do called What Am I Sowing? And today I thought we would go to the flower side of things because I grow a lot of vegetables, but I also grow a lot of flowers. And one of the first flowers that I'm going to need to get seeds started for are Petunias and Impatiens. So I thought I would have a little look at those and show you what I'm growing with those this year. A lot of the packages that I have don't have photos on them, but I'll try and find you some stock photos, or maybe if I've grown some of these varieties before, photos from my yard, and give you a look at those while we go along here. Should be a pretty quick one. So petunias are the first things that we'll talk about here, and I have three varieties of petunias that I'm growing. I have White Storm, Fire Frost, and Red Storm. So White Storm and Red Storm are just a really nice pure red flower. They have nice clear coloring to them, nice and even. And the Fire Frost is red with white edging. And so it just gives a nice contrast with those two. These petunias are a type that I've grown for a few years now, and they do really well with containers, hanging baskets, and in the ground. These all get, I believe, about 30 centimeters tall. Petunias, I think a lot of people are scared to start petunias, and I don't think they're really that difficult to get going from seed, but they do want a little bit of special care when you're growing them. So the first thing is that you don't, they're very, very fine seed. In fact, these are pelleted. I think I have one open. I don't know if you'll even be able to see that. They're pelleted. I'll dump these out. But that's pelleted seed, so it's been covered in kind of a clay-like substance, and they're still that very small. So anytime you get seeds that come in a vial, it's pretty much guaranteed they're either extremely small and possibly a little bit on the costly side, so they don't want you to lose them, and they want them to be a little better sealed up. Also, pelleted seeds I find are usually in these little vials too. I think maybe it just helps to keep the seed coating viable, but I'm not sure about that. You can grow a variety of petunias from seed, and I know some people even collect the seeds from petunias. That's not something that I've done yet. It's one of my goals for this year to be able to collect up some seed, save it, and regrow it. But I think when you're growing petunias from seed, you need to remember that they're a very tiny seed, as I've said, and they don't want to really be covered. So you just want to kind of press them into the soil in your trays. And you could put a little bit of vermiculite if you're worried about keeping the soil moist on top. But just cover them, give them a spray with a spray bottle, just a really gentle mist, just to make sure that they have good contact and it's damp on top. They need light to germinate, so put them somewhere bright. So when they're germinating, they want like around 24 degrees Celsius, but once they've germinated and you have good germination throughout most of your seed tray, then you want to take them and move them down somewhere cooler. They're still going to obviously need light, so you're going to have to find somewhere that's bright. About 16 hours a day of lighting, but cool temperatures like 12 degrees Celsius. I usually put mine in my basement on the floor in an outside corner of the room because that's usually the coolest spot. It's not 12 degrees Celsius, it's more like probably 15 in that little area. And then sometimes the light will add. I try to get an LED light, something that's not going to be producing too much heat for them because they want it cooler, and that's where they sit, and until they're starting to form their flower buds. So if it's warm enough in your area that it's frost free, and just, you know, getting around that 12 degrees area, then you could probably keep them out in like a greenhouse or a cold frame or something that's going to protect them from the winds and, you know, any severe weather. But they would have those cool temperatures, and that would probably be a really good spot for them. These need to be started early. The packages say 8 to 10 weeks, and that's prior to when you want to be putting them out. And petunias are pretty, once they're grown and they're hardened off, they're pretty hardy to cooler temperatures, and even they can handle a light frost. But in the early stages there, you probably want to protect them a little bit from frosts just because they're getting acclimated to the outdoors still. But they can handle a lot of cool temperatures. So mine usually do go out around that average last frost date. So I want to start them early, and I usually start mine about 10 weeks before my average last frost date, because they do take some time to get to maturity. That means you're going to have some plants that are getting pretty big, and you might not have space for that, so you're going to have to gauge that. But to me, it's worth it to grow them from seed. I can get a lot of flowers for, you know, just the cost of a seed packet. So it's, you know, probably about, you know, like this is 50 seeds in a container here, so I can probably get close to 50 plants for the cost of a couple 6-packs. So it just depends on how many you want and the time and energy you want to put into growing them. I do have a video on growing petunias from seeding to planting out. So if you're curious more about how to do it, check out that video, and it'll give you more information about how to do this. But they're a great flower, and they're really easy to grow. And hummingbirds and bumblebees love them, so give them a try. And I thought I would include, because a lot of people, you know, see Calibrachoa as just a mini petunia, so I thought I would include it in this video. And they have somewhat similar growing conditions, is this Calibrachoa. You might know them as mini bells, or Proven Winners has them branded as super bells. That they do look like just a little mini petunia, and they take a lot of the same conditions and can handle, you know, a lot of this. They want a lot of the same things that petunias do, so people use them a little bit interchangeably, just like a smaller petunia. Calibrachoa tend to handle a little bit drier soil more than a petunia would. So some people have more luck with them in hanging baskets. I haven't had a lot of trouble with petunias in hanging baskets, but some people, mine are on a drip, so they're not getting real dried out. But some people find that Calibrachoa is a better choice for their hanging baskets. They're planted in a similar way. You know, they need light to germinate. They need a long time to get going before they're going to be flowering and usable out in your garden. And these ones are done in kind of a fun way, because this is actually a mix of 3 colors that is put together into one seed pellet. So they've done the pelleted seed as well, but you can see the pellets are a lot larger, and that's because there's 3 seeds made into one pellet. So you'll get a nice combination of complementary colors growing out of each one of these that sprouts, or at least that's the plan. So I haven't tried that before, and I'm interested to see how it works. These are called Paradise Island, and they are a mix purple, yellow, and deep pink. And these ones are supposed to get 8 to 12 inches tall and spread 10 to 14 inches. And they're just like, they just have that look of a delicate petunia, and they're a nice addition to the garden. So thought I'd give these a try with that 3 colors mixed together. I thought that'd be fun. And then I have a whole bunch of Impatiens. So several varieties here, and then seed that I have saved from Impatiens that I grew last year. Saving Impatiens seeds is pretty easy to do. There's a little bit of chaff in here, but their seeds are very, very tiny again. But the seed pods are just these expanded green, I don't know, they kind of remind me of a snail shell, kind of. I don't know, that could just be me. And when they're ready for the seed to come out, they'll kind of turn usually kind of more of a yellowy color, but sometimes they still stay green. And if you just touch them, they just explode. So you have to be ready. And I think I got some video of that, so I'll try and throw a clip in here, and you just kind of hold like a bag or something large underneath it, and you just pinch the little seed head, like just barely, like you just like tap it almost. And if it's ready, it'll just explode and the seeds come out. So they're pretty easy to save seed from. That's my first year saving seeds. So I'm interested to see what my germination rates are with these. So I'll let you know as I grow these on. I'll mark them separately so that I know how well they actually performed as far as germination goes. Those were collected out of Super Elfin Clear, I believe, is what I had planted in those pots where I collected them from. And Super Elfin Clear, which for some reason I got in my head was white, but it's not. It's just clear hues of multiple colors, like really hot pink, bright pinks. And I think there was a purple in there too. So this package, I believe, is empty. Feels like it. But I've collected a bunch of seed off the ones I grew last year, and so hopefully I'll have more of them again this year. This is one that in my area, you can easily buy anywhere where they sell seeds. Usually they'll have these, and it's the Tropical Fizz. And it's just a really broad mix of whites and reds and peaches and kind of these purpley tones. And then I have, this is the Beacon Series White. So these are a pure white. So I'll know where they are. These are packaged. These ones aren't in vials, but the seed is really small, so they're packaged in these little envelopes. And you can't even feel the seed in it, but it's, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's seed in there. Very tiny little seeds. So be aware of that when you're opening your packages. Usually they'll be packed in something inside of the envelope, but just in case they're not, be aware of that when you buy your Impatiens seeds. This is the Beacon Series Bright Red. Again, it's just a nice, bright, clear red color. So, and then this is the Violet. And these are just supposed to be a nice, bright, clear violet. Imagine that. So Impatiens seeds you grow in a similar format to the petunias. They need to be started early, like 8 to 10 weeks again. These I don't find they have to be, you know, as bang on the 10 weeks, but I do like to start them early and kind of get them started and move on to some of the other things that need to get going. They're also, like I said, they're very fine seeds. You just want to kind of sprinkle them on the top of the growing medium as best you can, spreading them out, and just kind of lightly, you know, push them down, make sure they have a little bit of contact with the soil. Again, you could add a very fine layer of vermiculite if you want, just because it will hold some moisture. Give them a spritz down. You don't have to add the vermiculite. Give them a spritz down with a very fine mist. Make sure the potting mix was damp to begin with. Fine mist. Put them under some lights. And these actually sometimes need a little bit more heat. The recommendation is for some bottom heat. And so I usually just put a heat mat under them. But if you have a nice warm space where you're starting them, it's not an absolute necessary thing, but a little bit of heat will help to kind of just break their dormancy and get them going. And again, that bright light. These do not need to be going down anywhere cooler. They're fine to just continue growing under the light. They like warm temperatures. You don't want to be putting these outside too early. You want to make sure that your nighttime temperatures are warm and you're not going to be getting anywhere near that frost time, or make sure they're in a protected spot, because you want to have the nighttime temperatures not getting it much lower than, you know, 7-10 degrees Celsius when you're putting these outside, or you want to be protecting them because they'll stunt, or they could even die on you if you have them out too cold. So really, growing impatiens and petunias from seed inside is easy enough to do. You just need to have the space and the light. The petunias definitely want to get down in the cool temperatures. It will help them with creating their flower buds and branching out. The petunias also, you're going to want to be pinching back, and that again will be in that video. It'll show you kind of about how to do that and what you need to do for that. That's what I'll be sowing this year when it comes to petunias, Calibrachoa, and Impatiens. I have 3 varieties of petunias. The one variety of Calibrachoa that actually contains 3 in it. And what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kinds of Impatiens. So I think that should give me a good start to some color outside in my flower beds and pots and things this year. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.